Hi everyone, this is the video looking towards week 9. So taking a quick look at week 8 and what we did, we talked about essay tests and rubrics, and I'll get those assignments that you submitted, your test question 3s. I'll try and get those graded at the beginning of the week if I can. These might take me a little longer to grade than the previous ones just because they're a little bit more in depth, and I'm sure you know from having written them or worked on those assignments that it can take a little bit of work to do a rubric that is detailed and specific enough to be worthwhile and to actually be helpful. And so it takes a little bit of time to look through all of those. So I'll get you feedback on those as soon as I can, but I'll get them graded this next week. And thank you for your participation in the discussion. We tried, if you'll remember from this last week, that I had an optional video chat on Friday night, and only one person came to that, although there were a couple people who tried to get onto it either a couple hours too early or a couple hours too late. So I'm sorry that I missed you and that maybe wasn't clear on the time. So I apologize if there was a misunderstanding there. But so the person who came and I had a good discussion, and that worked well for him. But I don't think we'll do a video to chat discussion with me this coming week. We might do another one again in a couple of weeks, but I will leave it open as an option for you if you want to do a discussion over video chat. If you want to contact people or post in the malt shop, you could post in this forum up here and just say, hey, is anybody interested in video chat? I'm available at this time. You can see if other people are interested. That would be a way to do it so that everybody could see it and have a chance to participate. If you want to do a video chat discussion, you will need to record it. So you could use Google Hangouts. I can set up a Zoom meeting for you, or you can use some other option. Skype, I think you have to have a more advanced version than just the basic free one, but it has also recording options. So you can find some sort of video chat software with a recording option and then email me the recording or a link to the recording. And also in the email, you need to include who was there and maybe a little snippet of what you talked about, just a brief look of if you talked about the questions or kind of what your main discussion was about, and then I'll take a look at the recording as well. So if you're interested in doing that and you have questions, please let me know and I'd be glad to clarify expectations on that. So looking towards week 9, we're going to be looking at learner-centered evaluation, specifically with classroom assessment techniques, or CATs is how we'll refer to them, just as an acronym. So a lot of the evaluations that we do are instructor-centered, that you're getting a reaction about a class so that you as the instructor can improve that class, which has benefits. You conduct a level 2 evaluation to see what they have learned so you know what to teach better or what kinds of things need to be worked on so that you're getting across what you need to for the learning environment. Those things can be done in a learner-centered way, and we've touched on that a little bit in the materials from the previous weeks. But this week we're going to look at something that's very learner-centered or participant student-centered. So a classroom assessment technique is a way to get an understanding. Usually it's a short activity that gives you an understanding of their experience in the class. So let's look at the framework real quick. So you'll have some materials to read about CAT and some websites that give examples and different ways to use CATs to gain understanding of your students. So, excuse me, I think that classroom assessment techniques can be really useful because it gives you an understanding of the student's experience and where they're at, and can give you ideas of where to improve as well, but it really focuses on the class from the perspective of the student. So for example, earlier this semester, I think in week 5, we did the stop, start, continue survey. So I just had 4 questions, what do you want me to stop doing in the class? What do you want me to start doing in the class? And what do you want to see continued in the class? And then an optional or a 4th question of is there anything else that I should know? And that's a form of a CAT technique that gave me an understanding of how the class is working from your perspective, what kinds of things you wanted to see continued in the class, what's working well, and what kinds of things you'd like to do, because there were some ideas that people had that I hadn't thought of before, but were things of interest to you, and also some things that you wanted to see stopped that weren't being very beneficial. So it was really from your perspective, giving me an idea of how the class was working. And so there are lots, dozens of cats that you could use. That's just one example that we've already used in class, but you can ask students to write a 1-minute summary about the material to get a very basic understanding of what you've covered and how well it's going. You can have them talk about the muddiest point, what is the most confusing thing, so you get an understanding of what really is confusing to people and see if that's the same across your class or not. So there are a lot of techniques, and I think this will be useful, and sometimes they can be kind of fun. They're usually short. So take a look at all those materials, and then for the assignment this week, you'll be creating a cat. So you'll be using your case study. So whatever your course is that you have chosen for your case study, you will create a cat assignment based on that. And there's an assignment sheet here and a rubric for what you need to include, and then submit that by Sunday. So this is only worth 7 points, which is about half as many points as many of the assignments from the semester. So I'm hoping it will be fairly, maybe more straightforward than some of the previous weeks with writing the test questions. Have been a little bit more in depth just because they can be a challenge to create those questions. But I think that this will be maybe a little fun for you to think about how you could use a different kind of a technique to gain an understanding of your class, whether you are a teacher now or could be in a training situation or have been a participant in some sort of training environment or learning experience. These are some ways to consider getting the student perspective, and I think it can yield a lot of great insights. Also, make sure to post in the discussion board by Sunday, or if you're interested in doing a video chat, you can set that up and again ask me if you have any questions on that. And then you have the chance to do this bonus assignment, which is going to this Google document and posting some of the disadvantages and advantages of the different test questions that we have been talking about for the last few weeks. So this will provide kind of a review of what we've talked about and help you solidify some of those things in your brain a little bit more, and be able then also to have a resource that you could take and maybe use or keep for your own teaching or for your future jobs or careers that you have, so that you have a quick look at some of the benefits and downsides of test questions. And then here are the forum discussions. And as we're going into this, or as we've wrapped up this week 8, you may be wondering, well, why did we just spend 3 weeks on writing test questions? And it's for a few reasons. One is that it gives you a chance to create a level 2 evaluation. You've now created 3 of them with different formats. But it's also not the only level 2 evaluation that you can do, because a level 2 evaluation occurs in the learning setting to see how people are learning. So that could be from a test, and that's a very common thing to use in an educational setting in particular. But it could also be demonstrations of the material or role plays or some sort of hands-on lab practice. Any of those things are still level 2 evaluations. They just, a test is one thing that a lot of people are familiar with. It's something practical that we can do for this class, being an online class, and it gives you a chance to create it. And hopefully it will be useful for you in the future if you are in some sort of an educational setting, that you can write test questions or be able to think about test questions in a different way. So we've talked about tests for the last few weeks to talk about level 2 evaluations, and really a learner-centered evaluation like a CAT could be considered maybe a little bit more informal form of a level 2 evaluation, but you're still in some way getting either a reaction, which would be a level 1 evaluation, or an understanding of their learning and how to improve the learning experience. So this still falls into evaluation. And looking forward for the next couple of weeks, we'll be moving into level 3 evaluations in week 10, which is looking at how that learning has transferred to the environment, to a real world, real work setting. And then we'll have spring break. So you get a week off, which will be fantastic. And then the class is open so far up through week 12. So if you need to or want to work ahead on week 12 during the spring break, you're welcome to. I know some people have emailed me about conflicts over spring break because of their work schedules or whatever. And so if you need to work ahead, that's fine. And I hope you'll take that time to work ahead if you choose. So that up through week 12 is currently open, and I'll work on getting the rest of the weeks open from there. And hopefully that gives you an understanding of where we're at now and how we've kind of gotten to this point. And I hope you let me know if you have questions. Make sure you submit your CAT assignment by Sunday at midnight, and also do your discussion. You can share your CAT assignment if you choose to, but it's not required. But it might be interesting to see what other people have come up with and what they'd like to do for their case study. If you have any questions, send me an email. I am more than glad to help you, and that's why I'm here. And otherwise, I will see you online.